Hello, my name is Anuska Taylor. Thank you so much for joining me on this series of free videos. I am a certified vocal instructor and I work with singers and speakers. So in this series of videos, I'm going to talk to you about your speaking voice. And I imagine that you probably don't think that much about it. It's very habitual, it's very natural. We don't really pay that much attention to our speaking voice unless we have to. Now, you might think about it if you lose your voice, but you probably also would think about it if you had to do some public speaking. And so what I find is public speaking makes people feel very, very self-conscious about their voice. And for good reason, actually, in a way, because we do judge each other on our speaking voices. And it's very unconscious often. We do make decisions about whether we respect people, whether we like people, how we feel about people, whether we think they're intelligent or not, based on their speaking voice and based on their tone of voice. So there is justification often for those feelings of anxiety around public speaking because it's a very personal part of us and we do feel like we're being judged. So I would guess that even if you've never done any public speaking before, you've probably experienced one or all of these three areas I'm going to just quickly talk about now. So do you find it difficult to project your voice and be heard? Does your voice get tired easily? Or maybe you find yourself running out of breath when you talk. So these are very, very common. And some people have all three, some people might have one. You might be lucky and have none, but they are very common. If this is you, then what I'm about to share with you over the next three videos, I think is going to really help you and to open your eyes a little bit to a greater awareness of your speaking voice. And we're going to talk about the foundations really of your speaking voice. And you might be thinking, well, I know what I need to do. I just need to talk louder. I just need to be more confident. I just need to breathe deeper, or I just need to sort of project to the back of the room. But I can tell you there's a lot more to it than that. And you may do those things, but you might find if some of these other things aren't in place, you're going to have very limited results with them. One of the things we don't think about is our optimal speaking voice quality. And that's what I want to talk about over these videos. So this is the quality that allows your voice to function from its most free, effortless, and healthy place. It will give you maximum creative expression and natural power. So there's no need to force or yell or strain or push your voice to be heard. There's no vocal tiredness and there's no issues with running out of breath. Now, I will preface this by saying that if you have pathological speech issues, obviously you go and get expert advice on that. But this is for the average person who perhaps just doesn't really understand the full capacity of their speaking voice. In today's video, we're going to look at the first of these three foundations, which is optimal pitch. Now, for those of you who aren't singers and perhaps don't even know what pitch is really how high or low a note is. And you might not even think of your speaking voice as being a note. But really, your speaking voice is part of your singing voice. It's just the lower part of your singing voice. It's all the same muscle. It's all the same vocal cords. That we don't have magical vocal cords for speaking and for singing. It's all the same thing. So it is really one of the same. So what I find is that the majority of people talk too low. And they don't realize it because it's so habitual in the way they speak. And often we end up sort of mimicking the people around us. So if everyone else is talking low, then you probably just follow that without even really thinking about it. So simply put, lower frequencies or pitch, they don't travel as well, those frequencies. So more effort and pressure is needed to be heard. And so you use more air. This tires the voice and it makes it hard to be heard. So firstly, what I'd like to do is demonstrate what my voice would sound like if it was on the lower side. And I'm going to exaggerate it just so it's really, really clear. And then I'm going to show you how to find that optimal pitch. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to keep it fairly simple. When I work with people individually, there's many ways I can do this and it would be much more of a thorough process. But for this video, it's going to give you an indication of where you are. So if I was talking really low, my voice would suddenly drop down here, and I'd be talking like this, and it would be quite low and a little bit crackly and a little bit dull and flat and lifeless and colourless. Now, from that space, it's very, very hard to get really anything out of that voice. As much as we might try and push or, project more or breathe deeper, but it's going to be very limited from that place. So in order to find your optimal speaking voice, this is just a really, really quick way. I'd like you to imagine you're eating something that tastes really nice and you're going, mmm, 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 mmm. I know this seems a bit crazy, but this is how we do it. So we're not going for a monotone voice, so like one tone. When we do this, we are able to modulate above and below this optimal pitch that we're finding, but we want to find the optimal pitch first and then modulate above and below. So this is really where we want that optimal pitch to sit. Now, the hard part is staying there. So what I would suggest you do when you find it is la 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 la, and then read something trying to stay in that pitch as much as you can. Now, it is quite tricky when you're doing it on your own, and that's why having a coach or an instructor or a teacher of some description to help you is a really good idea with speaking, because it's very hard to kind of, anything to do with the voice, it's very hard to kind of hear what you're really doing. But what I would suggest is actually record yourself doing this. So maybe go and get a book, read a chapter out aloud, record yourself, then do the and see if you can stay in that pitch, and then read the same chapter and record yourself doing both, and just see what the difference is. What I hope you'll notice is, apart from it's going to feel a lot freer and easier for you as the speaker, it's also just going to be so much more interesting to the listener. It's going to have more colour, more depth. People are going to be more engaged when they listen to you because it's not so flat and colourless. So play around with this. As I say, record yourself. Then you can really hear what's going on. It's very, very hard to really hear in your own head what something sounds like. From this place, you can speak for hours. And as I say, it frees your voice up so you can be creative in the way you express yourself. So I hope that's helped you go away and have a play around with this. In the next video, we're going to look at optimal sound quality and how to find a balanced tone that is neither pressed or squeezed or breathy and airy. So that will be the next video. I look forward to seeing you then.